Welcome back. It's always good when we start and Erica's already got the giggles. So, listeners, you will be aware that we don't edit. I know this is going to come with shock and surprise to many of you, but we don't really do a whole lot of editing. So, when Erica called you fuckos in the closing moments of our last episode 87, she wasn't talking to you. She was talking to a couple of the other listeners. Okay, so I just wanted to get that out of the way.
I'm going to speak for myself and say, in New York, where I hail, fuckos is a term of endearment. Like, it's not anything personal. It's, come on, fuckos, what do you want to do? So that's where that came from. I was like, hey, you out there. Hey, you. That's what it means.
Yeah. Hey, you. Give us some comments. So, neuroscience makes it clear that our nervous systems do not distinguish between a state of crisis and just general seriousness in how we are. So you might hear, oh, I don't really do playful, or, I'm a serious person. Well, here's news for you. If you're a serious person, you are activating your survival mode, you're narrowing your perception, you're shutting down your creativity, and you are closing off your openness. And play does the opposite of all those things. It signals safety, it reopens curiosity, it restores connection both with yourself, your physical body, and with others. So as we're dropping this on March the 3rd, it is National I Want You to Be Happy Day. And I'm going to say, because I want to preempt Erica's rant, whilst I may want you to be happy, your happiness is entirely dependent on you, fucko. And that's my introduction out of the way.
Well said. But before we go on, there is a time and a place to be serious and to be playful, right? So I don't know. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure. Maybe, possibly, who knows? Today, another day. I don't know. I just wanted to say that. But back to National I Want You to Be Happy Day. Let me just read a little blurb about what my handy dandy little National Day of calendar is telling me. So it says, National I Want You to Be Happy Day on March 3rd encourages us to do something that makes others happy. Okay. It also asks us to see others' happiness from their point of view. Interesting. Putting a smile on someone's face tends to put one on ours too. Okay. Happiness, this is a quote from the Dalai Lama, happiness is the highest form of health. Great. Okay. Let me just read this a little bit. Genuine happiness takes effort. While we're not individually responsible for others' happiness, we do play a role in spreading joy and good cheer. One way to do that is to see happiness from another person's perspective. Happiness doesn't fit a mold. Everything from being a morning person or a night owl, a favorite season, and seafood can make or break a person's general idea of happiness. A person's overall journey through life gives them a unique outlook on happiness too. Being happy may merely be about quality, not quantity. So,
okay,
what do we think about this?
I agree.
So I find it
Go
on.
This is very sort of blue zone. We've had that conversation about places where it's easier. Food is good, weather, community, stuff like that. They all play into happiness, but I'm going to stick with my opening thought that it is on us to be happy. I think far too many people spend their lives trying to make other people happy, and as a result, suffering in their own fulfillment, because inevitably it's not quite right. There will be people who take everything that you do for them and want more or want it done a different way, and you will never satisfy that. So first and foremost, if your cup of happiness is full, it can run over and help others to find happiness. But I don't think, for me, I'm going to set out thinking I'm going to make X person happy today or any other March.
So what's interesting to me is this use of the word happiness, right? Like
Yeah.
making somebody happy. And I like the way it said, you got to look at it from other people's perspectives. Like what makes any one of us happy might not be the same, but it's an internal gig, right? Like happiness comes internally, whatever, it's a state of being, whatever that is. So I'm having a hard time with the use of this word because I can do something that because I'm being thoughtful and considerate. And I think, hey, Brett might like this. I'm going to bring home his favorite flavor of like ice cream today or something. With no, that's not generally going to make him happy. It's going to make him feel nice and feel, oh, well, she thought of me. That feels good. That's nice. I like the way that feels. That doesn't mean it's going to make him happy. So there's danger here for me in the use of this word happiness. And yeah, food is always a way to make people, to show people that you're thinking about them. But more to your point, I'm more concerned with this ever ending quest to make others happy, right? And what is required of us as individuals in that quest. Like how much, to what end, how much am I willing to do to make you happy based on what you're telling me is going to make you happy? And what am I going to be hurting in myself just by doing that? And for what purpose? Why am I responsible for your happiness? It's impossible.
There is so much layer in there. And I loved when you said, Erica, there's a problem with the word happiness, even how it's used in this context, because happiness and being happy was used about 10 times in that description, and each time it meant something different. So let's actually scrap the word happiness here, because first of all, they were talking about doing some kindness to people, being kind to people. Very, very different, right? We don't give happiness to people. We are kind to them. And it's a lovely way to be around people and with our loved ones, to be kind to them. And you're right, Erica, it's up to them if they feel happy. If I'm kind, they might not feel happy if I'm kind to them. So it's in the language again. Also, trying to make people happy. Are we really trying to make people happy, or we're trying to please them so they're nice and kind to us? Or do we have an overdeveloped need of caring for people because we think if we care for people and we do everything for them, then we are a good person? There are so many layers to it. So for me, the first step is to actually take the word happiness out of the whole thing and actually see what are we actually really doing. What's the actual vocabulary we should use here, looking at all these layers?
100%. Like, sorry. I mean, like this could be a whole episode on adjectives that can fit in place of the word happiness. Like you said, kindness, generosity, thoughtfulness, all of these things, consideration, all of these things can add to our nice little list of ingredients that we put together to pour into someone else's happiness cup. But that doesn't mean that it's going to give them any other higher sense of feeling happy if they don't already are not fostering that inside of themselves.
Exactly. And, for people who are chronic people pleasers because they've learned that as a survival trait, people who've survived domestic abuse or, modern slavery and things. And there are far too many of those people out there who, even if they were coming to us from a coaching perspective, we would have to be so careful that their agreement was genuine in any kind of action step that they were going to take, and not just people pleasing for safety and survival instinct. So actually creating an environment through some of the things you mentioned, like compassion and kindness and thoughtfulness, where someone can experiment with their ability to be playful and can reconnect with their happiness, would be, for me, a more of a purpose and a higher goal than just thinking okay, who can I make happy? Because we can get stuck in that rut. I know people who they for years have spent their lives trying to make a partner or somebody near to them happy, failing, not actually through them, but the emotional response that they get from that other person. And as a result, their entire being has lacked joy, happiness, playfulness, because they're trying to do it for somebody else first.
What it's really important though, because what this says that I do agree with is that you have to look at from the other person's perspective, right? Because here you are over here, right? Like to these people that are constantly in this state of I want to make my partner happy. Okay. So I'm being over generous, I'm being thoughtful, I'm being considerate, I'm being all these things. So I'm over here thinking, I don't know why he or she is still not happy, right? Because I'm not considering from their point. So it's the quickest way to wind up in that resentment quadrant again. Here we go with I'm trying to do all these things and you're still not happy. So I'm feeling resentful of you that I'm not getting back what I think I'm supposed to be getting. And then internally, I feel like a failure when I'm really just depleted by what this is. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and I'll give credit to it. It's the Terry Cole podcast, and I'm going to paraphrase, but a lot of talk about how this over need to like please another your partner, right? And I'm going to do anything I can to make him or her happy, and confuse it with us being compatible when really it's just compliance, right? Like compatibility versus compliance is a totally two different things here. That if you run this risk of just constantly striving to make other people happy, it's a big mishmash of confusion of what is really true.
You've made a point in a previous episode about understanding someone's love language. And I think this ties in. If you seek to understand that person's love language, you can ensure that they feel loved because you show that, whether it be through acts of service or food or whatever. And I think this is a similar thread. It's the empathy of, I know X is really important to Brett. So I'm going to demonstrate X to Brett and hope that he will see that it's being thoughtful, and I know that that's important to him. But taking any responsibility for his happiness out of it. So, yes, seeing it from someone's perspective, understanding it and taking that considerate action, but removing my ultimate responsibility for how they respond to it.
It's a really good point, because sometimes we could think that something maybe makes somebody happy, but what we're doing what we would do to be happy. I have a really good example for it. I had a conversation with someone not too long ago, and what they did, because both were working, they had a bit of a bad conscience not being at home, and because they were habitual in buying stuff because they got a short spurt of happiness, they did it with the kids, right? So kids wanted something, they would buy it. Kids would see something on the telly, oh, I want that, they would buy it. So it eased their bad conscience. And they really thought, honestly, they're doing something good for the kids. They will be happy, they're getting what they want, right? The result was that the kids now in their mid-20s are in terrible debts, because now they're supposed to live off their own wages, but they see something, they buy it, because that's what they're used to. So they weren't happy. They just learned to instantly buy something and have no self-control, self-regulation there, and they didn't learn how to handle money. Same time, they said to the parents, well, we weren't happy. When they had a conversation about all that, we weren't happy. What would have made us happy is you being home more.
Yeah, I think 2, 3 summers ago, there was a survey published in the UK, and it was based around parental beliefs of what would make the children happy. And it was coming up towards that long school break that we have here, sort of late July to early September. And I think the purpose was to try and reinforce to parents that spending on events isn't the same as being present and doing the events. So the parents' reaction was all things like days out at theme parks, holidays, whatever, all around revolving around providing a thing. And the children's responses were all things that revolved around taking the time to do a thing with them, build a camp, play in the park, those sorts of things. And the it sort of just meshed together. Everything the adults thought that they would make the children happy with was actually counter to what the kids were saying would have made them happy. So if we don't get that initial crossover of and this again, we were talking communication earlier, seeking to understand, it's more important that that old adage, it's the thought that counts. Well, yeah, I don't mean just think about getting you the nice gift, but think about what that gift would be for the person. The gift of time, or the however it appears to that person, is going to give the value and the meaning behind it, rather than just money spent on something that might bring momentary pleasure but equally may not. Remembering that someone did something for you, took the time to do this, is so much more. We remember people, even relative strangers, kindnesses, because it came from a place of deeper intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Um, Again, going back to the communication is huge, right? And I think what kids would want would be for you to just play whatever it is that they enjoy with them, right? A video game, hockey in the street. Even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, give them an opportunity to laugh at you and giggle. They will remember that forever. Like, oh my God, I played hockey with my dad once. So, I played video games with Jared, and he literally just beat the living crap out of me because I didn't know the controller, I didn't know the game, and I was like, all right, so how long do you want me to play with you if I don't know what I'm doing? Can you teach me how to play so that I could actually be a challenge to you and not like a joke? And then he started teaching me how to play, which actually made more of a time together kind of piece. Right. So then he was like, oh, you do this to do that. I'm like, all right, stop killing me. You know what I mean? But then he was showing me, and then I was like, all right, so don't move. Let me try some of this, and I would do some of the moves. I'm like, all right, cool. Now we can play. I have an idea. Communication. It all goes back to communication, and then enjoying something that they have, and give them an opportunity to teach you. You're always trying to teach them. Allow them to teach you, because that's the opportunity for them to step up and practice what it takes to be that person for somebody else, right?
There's such a great point there, because most of our listeners will remember that I spent Christmas there with you guys, and Jared, George, my son, feels this real connection to Jared.
Mhm.
And I swear it's because Jared had him in his room, showed him his flight simulator, taught George how to use it, let him play in George's, let him fly the aeroplanes and things. And there's this connection. They're sat side by side. There's joint connection and focus on a thing, and there's that. Vygotsky would call it that proximal zone of learning. There's the young adult in Jared teaching the almost still a boy teenager a completely different thing. You know, it's not a shoot 'em up or a run around blowing things up game. And as a result, albeit they didn't spend a huge amount of time together, when I mentioned to George recently something that was happening for Jared in his life, he was unusually excited and communicative about it. And I think it's because of what they built in that time that they were together.
It's so
Are
nice
we
to hear.
just, yeah,
Go
are
ahead.
we just saying that real happiness never comes from things, but only through real connections to other human beings?
I don't know if I'd say that. I feel like there could be some, if it's just that. In all honesty, though, like it could be. Let me see if I can put words to this, right? Like it's not so much in the actual material part of the thing, but in the process it took to get to that thing, right? Like that requires, okay, you got me this or gave me this experience or this actual material thing because you actually listened and observed what it is that I had mentioned I would like, or you know what actually brings me joy, right? So you made it happen in the end result of this material thing. So I don't know if it's just time alone, but it's the process of what it takes to actually be thoughtful enough to give somebody something if it's a material thing. That's the way it works for me.
Still sounds to me it's not the actual material thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the connection with the person before and the listening and the wanting to know you, which actually makes the thing a piece of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And I'm
guess so.
going to say again that, sorry, I'm not sure who I spoke over, but this was evidenced again at Christmas with my time with you guys. George had a fantastic trip. And the things that he talks about are like, oh, yeah, we did taste testing and stuff. So, Erica gave me different bread and different things to try and stuff. So there was a thing, but it's the time spent and the engaging with him. The fact that you were prepared to hear him, his disgust and distaste of American water, and to do taste tests and things with him, that's irreplaceable time and engagement. So I'm probably more with Gabby on it's the connection. I know you would like your private chef, but you're still going to connect with them to discuss the meals that you want and those sorts of things.
I just want to say there were zero qualms about telling me how disgusting the water was standing in my kitchen that I could not help but feel so full of happiness in the pure honesty that came out of that kid's mouth at that moment. And he had zero qualms about saying, that is the terrible. I was like, dude, you're in my kitchen. It was awesome. But more to the point, like Brett and you both are speaking about Jared in such a way, right? Taking the time to teach me how to play, taking the time to sit with George. And I'm over here thinking, that kid has zero concern about my happiness because he is more than happy to kick the shit out of me whenever he can in a video game. Like he doesn't care that I don't know. There is no time to be taken. And for me, this conversation helps, right? Because while I'm taking it like he doesn't care about my happiness, I'm looking from his perspective of what happiness is. And I guess it's bonding with me in a way where he feels safe enough. Well, he did anyway, as a younger kid, to beat my ass in a video game. And I was just going to continue to sit there and take it because I just wanted the time with him. Right. So that's interesting because I was like, I don't want to play with you because you don't like, I have no chance in hell here with this video game. But that was bringing him such happiness to do that. Really interesting the way that works. But so I have a couple of things here about how to observe I want you to be happy day that I think can bring some interesting responses because I'm having my own responses to some of these right here. So if unless somebody has something else to say right at this moment, I'm going to run through this.